Just a comment here. Laura Latin says, I'm starting to think the next 2 years will not be much different. I don't see how we can just all of a sudden click and magic happens. Our defense is so bad.
Mm.
That's an interesting perspective. I think I would say that the draft pick, regardless of where it is, will help. Even if it gets like real rough and we get dropped down to like the lower top 10, we saw what we could do with Jeremy this year. So I think we'll still get somebody quality that will, and just another year of development from Devin and Keldon. That's the other key thing that just to remember throughout this whole stretch where we've been competitive and losing a lot is Devin's out too. So how many of those games, if he's playing, do we win? But that's also a good thing, when it comes to lottery odds. So it's like, that's kind of something that people might forget when they're thinking about this. But I also see what you're saying. Like, it's going to take time to build. Like it maybe obviously if you get Wembanyama, you have a lot of high hopes. But like, right, the next year the Spurs may not have any chance of making the playoffs. Like they still might not be where they need to be yet. But I would say the year after I'd have a lot of optimism. But I can totally see the thought there, because the defense really does need a bunch of improvement. But I think when you kind of factor in a lot of the things going on this year, not only with just the state of the team, like we talked about it before on so many other lives, like where Doug is literally saying, like on an in-arena promo at the AT&T Center, we understand there's a bigger purpose this year. Like, I think, if guys have a little injury, we're going to let them stay out longer. On top of all of the other injuries that we've just had, like, I feel like there's just been so much turmoil in the rotations even this year that we've kind of had, it's been hard to like have like a good evaluation of this team at full strength defensively. I think there's still definitely a lot of work that they've got to do. But I'm not sure. It's still kind of hard to evaluate. But I definitely think that is a storyline that could bleed into next year and be the reason why the Spurs are in a similar position next season, if that answers her comment.
For sure, I think it does. I agree with what you're saying. We haven't really gotten a long stretch of games where we can truly see the defensive identity of this team with everyone playing with consistent rotations. Sohan obviously brings a lot to that. Trey Jones brings a lot to that. Devin Vassell brings a lot to that. And a lot of it, they've been out for a considerable amount of games this season, especially Devin. Bring in a hopefully Wembanyama or a Scoot, depending on, or whoever we draft, doesn't matter.
Top
next
prospect.
Season, yeah. To me, it's very obvious that the goal of this season, I'm not trying to be wear my tinfoil hat
right.
or whatever, but it's very clear that we're trying to lose.
The Spurs will never admit it, but it's so obvious.
It's very clear with the way injuries kind of pop up as we start kind of getting some momentum, and guys are up and out of the G League, and like
Devin maybe doesn't even get this procedure if this is like if this is a year where obviously
we're pushing for the playoffs or something,
right? He may just play through it because they just said it was a chronically sore knee. But because of the state of this season, this is the exact season you want Devin to go get that and be out for however many months.
Exactly. So I think next year's definitely going to be a struggle. We'll probably still be in the lottery next year, not in the playoff chase. But I think we'll have a better idea of who we are, because I don't think we will take another year to really tank. Like, I think everyone will be playing. We're going to try and find that identity and see what we have. Because like, is Blake Wesley going to work out next year? He'll probably get consistent minutes. Same with Malachi and Sohan. A lot of things that we'll be able to find out next year once everybody is healthy and ready to play in their consistent role.
Yeah, and just kind of touching on that a little bit more, another thing that kind of plays into the evaluations as well is development. And like players reaching their potential, because, if there's some crazy offseason jump in a specific category, like that could impact that as well. And even this year, like we've seen, like kind of out of nowhere, Sohan turned the switch on, and then the defense was completely different because of his versatility and the way that he was playing. And also with him turning stuff on offensively, that opens up. I mean, he's hard to guard, two ways and deal with two ways. So the point is, as these young players get more new skills, and that keeps getting tacked on every day, under Brett Brown and Greg Popovich, that can also kind of impact things, which it's kind of a wild card, if that makes sense.
And as much as I love the man, I think the absence of Doug McDermott from next season's team, more than likely,
right,
will also improve things defensively, or it should.